Welcome to the WorkTalk series of today, and where we talk about technology solutions and companies. And today we have the privilege of talking to Pruthav, and he's the founder of Simplrops. He's with us today. Pruthav, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Inderjit. How about yourself?
Doing very well. The season is changing, and we have a lot of things in the pipeline. Wanted to connect with you, especially after Rising and HR technology. Before we dive into the details, I would like a quick intro, if you can introduce yourself to our viewers and our listeners, and we can start from there.
Absolutely. Hey, everyone. Pruthav Joshi. Or, of course, people know me as PJ, though I do prefer Pruthav. I have been in the Workday ecosystem for 14 years. I've had the opportunity and privilege to have known Inderjit for the last few years and it's a very exciting place, right? I've been a consultant since I graduated back from University of Illinois Chicago in 2005. Started with a lot of big consulting firms and been a very exciting journey in terms of from doing custom back in the day, custom development, to moving over to Workday, which is much more configuration driven. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the conversation today, Indy.
Yeah. So definitely, I know you spent many years in the Workday world. That's the focus of the talk today. So tell me, how did the journey start from the Workday, and then we will get into Simplrops, how the idea started from there.
Absolutely. So I actually started as a customer.
Okay.
I was working with a small consulting firm out of Seattle,
Okay.
and we had the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation at that time. They came to us and said, we need to build a custom integration between Workday and our master data hub. So
Okay.
this was the first time me, and having worked in the API business before, I knew how to build integrations, and this is where I was Java application to retrieve to the get worker API back in the day. And I think I'm talking about version 12 or something. Retrieve the workers' data as a transaction and storing it into our data hub, one transaction at a line at a time. And I got very fascinated with the power of Workday at that time. So from there, I decided to apply for few companies. I just put my resume out there. And Aggressor, in fact, one of the original Workday consulting firms, reached out to me. I started my journey with them. They, of course, got acquired by Deloitte. So from there, I became part of Deloitte. And since then, it's just been an exciting opportunity, right? I had an opportunity while at Deloitte to work on HP implementation, which was 300,000 global implementation, 14 years. So it was very exciting to build a 400 plus integration, lead the team over there. And then afterwards, once you do the big exciting things, then it starts to die down. You're like, oh, I don't want to do again any integrations or anything. So I went in fact joined HP at that time when they were trying to build out their own practice from Workday standpoint. And then, of course, we all know the story of HP becoming HPE to DXC. So during that time, I decided to relook at my own vision forward. Where do I want to stand? What do I want to do? And what are the challenges that I see? And that's how the whole journey began from Simplrops standpoint. But it's been an exciting ride over so many years to be part of so many different organizations and building such an amazing friendship, colleagues, and people that I know from here.
Oh, that is awesome. Thank you for providing that overview, the journey you had. So I know we met, I believe, in 2001 or 2002, and we talked about Simplrops. And I always spending so many years in the Workday ecosystem, and we know there are a lot of tools. And firstly, having HR and finance in the cloud really makes sense for the future of enterprise business. But on top of that, when we look at many companies, they have many different systems in the landscape, right? Large companies could have hundreds of other systems, but it's important how Workday connects with that, because HR as employees hub is in the center, and then a lot of things go around it. So tell me how the idea started about Simplrops, and tell me about that story a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So it really began with me going to the customers 1 to customer 2 to customer 3 and having a very similar conversation. You give me the requirement, and I was doing this, some similar configuration again and again. So I started realizing that it is, in a way, Workday is very patternized, right? To keep it simple, right? There are patterns you can follow and get things configured in the environment. So being a techie, being somebody who enjoys just sitting down and writing code, I decided, can I just write a simplistic code that just helps me manage my integration landscape better and makes it so that the customers can implement and just have control over their own integrations, right? So that's where the journey from Simplrops began. And over time, of course, we started capturing more and more functional areas or functional use cases for the customer. The idea, in the very simplistic way, to put it in a very simple approach, is we wanted to remove a lot of manual labor work. That's what we were focused on. I wanted to remove myself, but at the same time, I wanted to be omnipresent with my skill set and my expertise. Same thing from a functional person who's on our team. She wanted to be omnipresent with her skill set and her expertise, but at the same time, automate a lot of, or simplify a lot of things on an ongoing basis when it comes to operating and managing Workday. So that's where the whole journey and whole idea began, just a simplification of the Workday life cycle for a customer, not just through the implementation, but post go live and ongoing optimization.
Yeah. So it was very attractive to hear what the value proposition is from the Simplrops perspective. So the core idea, it's about automation and simplification, right? But in layman's term,
Exactly.
if I'm a company and I'm on Workday, I've spent a couple of years on Workday, and now I'm, up and running. So tell me a little bit, how would you explain how Simplrops can come in the picture and make life easier for a typical Workday customer who's been alive for some time, or even if I'm looking into the implementation, during the implementation or post-deployment?
Absolutely. I think there is a lot of exciting use cases where Simplrops can help. But in general, let's talk about a life cycle of a customer when they are moving from legacy ERP to Workday as well. When they transition, the reasons why they transitions from the legacy ERP is because it's not scalable. It is becoming too difficult to manage and operate on an ongoing basis. And it has become very expensive because the number of resources required to perform activities, which even if they can, it's a lot, there's a lot of people required. So customers, and then at the same time, customers are looking at, okay, there's a new era that Workday is delivering. Workday is a very exciting and very valuable platform for customers, right? It delivers a lot of opportunities, a lot of capabilities to the customer if used right and if used correctly from the very beginning. So they go through the HR transformation, the whole aspect of moving from the legacy on-premise solution to Workday, the cloud-based application, a lot more configuration-driven, lot more improvements to the ongoing process, from old processes to the new way of working going forward for your business. But the challenge that always has been for the customer is that once they go live, the question always comes back, is the HR transformation, does it stop there? No. It continues to go forward. There is no stopping point with HR transformation. It has to keep moving forward, which means that Workday as a product has to keep evolving as the customer evolve, right? And that's what they do, right? They do provide new capabilities, they do provide new functionalities, and customers do tend to adopt a lot of those things. However, if you talk to many of the customers, they end up really trying to just keep the lights on since they went live. They don't focus on what is automatically available from release management perspective, rather than identifying where and what new capabilities can they adopt. They evaluate the health of their environment just at a high level, just to ensure these integrations are working properly. The reports are not, they don't even know how their reports are used, how many reports they have sometimes. They're just trying to keep the lights on for most part and making sure the payroll runs smoothly. And if there are financials, the financials run smoothly.
Right.
And then finally, the number of people required to support this, it's really, it dwindles for a customer, right? We know the Workday ecosystem is it's small yet it's big, yet it's small, right? When it compares to the number of customers Workday has, to the number of people who actually know Workday really well. So that all you look together, you start asking the question, is there a way to do something better to make sure the customers really appreciate and enjoy the value that the Workday actually delivers, the ROI that Workday wants to deliver to the customer? How do we make sure that it just keeps increasing over time? So from Simplrops perspective, we deliver a lot of capabilities, but that can be categorized in three key areas. One is stabilization, providing you that ongoing management and monitoring stability, so that you can, as a central, Simplrops becomes your central command center platform, which integrates to all your Workday tenants, and you are able to manage all your tenants from one singular location. So that's number one. Number two is being able to do much more proactive and robust change management process. Because if you have a robust, good change management process, that's when you are able to keep growing the system. An example there where we can help a lot is around our change impact analysis, right? Which can cut your time and effort required to understand what a change and what a change, how would that impact not just your downstream system, but cross-configuration modules as well.
Is that from the biannual updates perspective or in general? You're talking about the change.
Great question. It can be either, right? So there is manual of the customer are receiving from Workday, but even internal customers are doing change management of their own releases, right? They're also releasing their own fixes, their new updates and new things that changes they want to make to reason codes, as an example, or job categories, whatnot, right? How do you ensure that these business driven changes are not you start realizing ahead of time what are those impacts, what are the situations that you will need to test for. Those kind of scenarios, that internal change management for operating and optimizing Workday on an ongoing basis, that it becomes a very key activity. And if you have that correctly and managed and operated, that's when you start focusing on the third key activity, which is really what the customers are looking for, is that feature adoption, is the ability to extract as much value out of Workday investment that they are making by adopting, driving new capabilities, and just in a way receiving, being able to deliver to their end customers, which is the employees, the managers, and the business users, new ways of doing better businesses that can improve their own efficiency as well. So those three categories, which is stabilization, change management, and ongoing feature adoption, are the three categories we focus on primarily with the Simplrops.
That is very good. So you simplified from those three key things that customers can look for. You touched upon automation and simplification. I think I am from the financials world. I remember back in the days when I was doing corporate accounting, I really got tired of the manual processes, right? Like this day and age of, Facebook, Amazon of the world, we should not be spending so much time on the time-consuming activities. That we have the systems and technology in place that can really simplify a lot of things. And so when you're looking at from the HR perspective, on the HR side of the town, we'll focus there. What are some of the key activities if the customer is looking to, maybe if you can, shed some light on a couple of examples, how your current customers or past customers have taken advantage and, cut down the time from what they were doing before and what they're doing with Simplrops.
Absolutely. So I will talk about, again, touching upon two key use cases. One, again, I'm going to focus on the change management side, and one on the adoption side, the big value drivers for an HR space, right? So let's start with the release management perspective, right? What generally happens during each release cycle is there are two releases, biannual releases that Workday performs, during which time the HR team that is responsible for operating and managing Workday, they come and analyze what are the new items that are coming from Workday and what is it that they have implemented. And not just HR, right? IT comes into play as well, because there is a downstream, there are integration impacts, downstream system impact, security comes into play because there is a security impact potentially. So they start analyzing, and it's a lot of manual work that has been done. And our customers, from what we have discussed, from what we have learned from the 40 plus customers that we have worked with, they spend about anywhere 40 to 100 hours each release cycle just analyzing.
Mm-hmm.
With Simplrops, what we end up doing is we automate that whole impact analysis. If we are integrated to your Workday environment, we look through what you have configured in your tenant. We already we look through what is the intent of Workday from those release items, and kind of create a Venn diagram, in a manner of speaking, to identify what are you using, what is delivered by Workday, and where is an opportunity at a very deep level for you to, what are the impacts and what opportunities based on what you have configured. A great example would be, let's say there is, and a very simple example that everybody goes through, right? Let's say Workday is deprecating a new field, and an old field, and they are adding a new field. Now, the question comes out to be is, how do you analyze where exactly is the deprecated field, Workday field being used? You can, when we run the analysis from Simplrops side, which takes seconds, we evaluate from the integration standpoint, from the custom report standpoint, from conditional rules standpoint, all the different areas, wherever the field is being used, and we'll tell you exactly the locations of your deprecations. Very simplistic example that works on the IT space a lot more. From the functional our area standpoint, let's say there is a change to the benefit approach. Some benefit, there is a new field added to a benefit module, or some kind of new way of working with the benefits, right? What we do is we analyze all the different configurations that are in your environment for those benefits module, and determine against Workday's intent with their new functionality or new change that they are making, to understand, are you actually using anything related to that benefits module, and what the intent is in your configuration. If it is something that is used in your configuration, we'll tell you specifically, this is what is the impact. And here's, with our partners that we work with, we deliver to you the recommendation associated with it as well, on how to adopt it and how to potentially do a testing around it as well. So to build out a test cases, right? So that's what our customers really enjoy and appreciate on an ongoing basis. And I'm speaking about two of these activities where are very common, happens every year, multiple times, both the change management as well as the release management spot. And that's all driven through automation, the impact analysis.
That's very good. Thank you for touching on that. And addition to that, Pruthav, I wanted to kind of reiterate, this is very important because as Workday is a subscription-based system, when we're not fully utilizing the features and the functionalities, we're leaving something on the table, right? The goal is to make sure that what's available there, we can leverage it both on the HR and finance and the reporting analytics side, can best leverage that and bring that to our company and the employees. So that is very good. So I know you have attended. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say one of the things when you are looking at building upon that as well is you have to really go back to all the release cycles that has happened since you went live to be able to build that adoption plan, especially if you have not done much adoption, right?
Right.
So that's where one of the opportunities we deliver is the ability for you to do a retro analysis over the last 3-4 years, to give you an insight into, over a period of time, what are the things that have come across and what should you be adopting.
Got you. Yeah. So the other thing I have heard is, I have seen it on your website and some of the other thing you had shared, is the health check. So if a Workday customer wants to, kind of do a health check on their Workday deployment or the current tenant, how does that process work? If you can kind of walk us through that.
Great question. Great question. So one of the things that you would see that's very common and very valuable out there in the ecosystem as services right now is those health checks that consulting firms and experts in the ecosystem are doing, where they come in, analyze your Workday environment, and ask you the right questions in order to be able to determine what your business use case was, and if you are meeting those guidelines, or if you are delivering to those results or not. I have done a lot of health checks. I'm sure you have, and so are many others that probably are listening to this. And the idea of we are thinking in the same fashion every single time, right? We're looking at the same things again and again to evaluate, is this condition here? If not, then okay, that's everything is fine. Is this condition in this place? Oh yeah, it is there. So we need to build a recommendation around it. So the idea of health check really comes out to be, can I automate that whole thing? And that's what we do. We automate that health check for a customer where when we extract the configuration out of the customer's environment, we run it against our intelligence and automatically analyze based on different situations, parameters, and algorithms on what is happening in your environment. And based on that, we are providing back to you a recommendation on, okay, so I see from the business process standpoint, here are the different your goal was for your request time off process to be above 50% to be ESS versus your actual scenario is 30% of the people it's only 30% is ESS driven versus rest of it is either manager or administrator driven. So this becomes a conversation at that time with the customer as to why exactly is this happening. So in a nutshell, what Simplrops does is we automatically provide you quantitative and qualitative insights with recommendations into what's happening in your tenant, rather than just doing things manually.
That is very good. Okay. Yeah, so that is very powerful. So I want to switch switch gears now. I know you had mentioned earlier, we were talking before we started the interview that you attended Rising and then you've been to HR Tech. So everybody's talking about AI, artificial intelligence, right? And when I was we were talking, I was like, man, Pruthav's Simplrops is very well positioned in that space. And I think, so tell us a little bit about how you're leveraging artificial intelligence or maybe some future-looking things you may have planned and how it can benefit Workday customers who are looking to leverage Simplrops or currently using Simplrops.
Absolutely. Yes, I'm pretty sure I heard the word AI over 100,000 times in the 2 weeks that I was at Rising and HR Tech.
I wanted to mention that I was looking at through all the blogs and all the sessions. I was like, man, there should be a way I can run AI on this to see how many times the word AI was mentioned during Workday Rising. I'm still working on it. Hopefully, I have an answer for that before Europe's Rising.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, it's very exciting what people are doing. At the same time, there's, for the right reasons, concerns in terms of
definitely,
data, who's doing it right, what are the I mean, a lot of people are, the way I heard this in a podcast and I don't remember which one, but a person basically mentioned that everybody is building a haystack, but nobody's really telling what is the needle that they are going, or everyone's building a hammer, but nobody knows where the needles or the nails are, or where the things need to be fixed. So that's the piece that we are, there you start hearing about a lot, right? There's a lot of people at a high level talking about use cases, and and so are we. Don't get me wrong, right? We are on our path to becoming a true AI platform, a co-pilot platform for Workday, in a manner of speaking. When we have already started that journey, there have AI, while in its true sense of cognitive or generative, was part of Simplrops, but in the traditional sense where the intelligence was always part of our platform, right? The way we are in the traditional sense of speaking. And now we are evolving to the new capabilities and new way of working, right? And we are putting everything on the drawing board, from the implementation to ongoing operations to adoption and optimization. And there is a lot of exciting opportunities across the board. From the implementation standpoint, right? Is there an opportunity to start moving towards that true sense of having AI perform the activities that a consultant would do otherwise, right? So we are starting to build capabilities in those areas, make it a lot more cognitive in terms of being able to capture requirements in any language, and be able to perform activities based on those requirements, right? Being able to read a documentation. A lot of exciting things we are doing on that front. Operations standpoint, you already have heard about our health check, right? We talked about it right now.
Yeah.
we are taking it one step forward and really diving deep into building out intelligence around using AI to make it agnostic and be able to on its own, in a manner of speaking, right? There are still challenges, but that we are working through. But by and large, the idea is that a tenant health check, the intelligence will automatically keep growing itself as it learns from the platform, from what we are seeing from the customers' results, right? Without using any of the customers' data, by the way. We will avoid customers' data for training ourselves. We look at just using the outcomes and using that as a way to build out our capabilities without using any customers' data. And then optimization and ongoing expansion, right? A lot more capabilities we are starting to work on from the adoption standpoint, and being able to also start looking at some of the utilization of Workday as a whole and building out insights into where is an opportunity to utilize more and optimize more on itself, right? Very many exciting things coming around, a lot of opportunities. What we are looking at more so than ever is working closely with our customers and partners to understand where do they see value more so, right? We can deliver what we want to from our side, right? But we want to understand where do they see value from the AI perspective. So we are listening very well. We are very closely tied to our customers and our partners to understand from there where are the places where the biggest value driver, the biggest cost savings would be for them on an ongoing basis.
Awesome. Yeah, that's very good. We're living in very exciting times from the perspective. I know we are in the very early phase, but it'll be exciting to see, because one of the big things I really like that Workday is well positioned from that perspective, because the data and the structured data which is available around the most important asset, which is the employees, even on the finance side as well, that will open up a lot of opportunities and to really make informed decisions and how we move from here to the next phase of the enterprise technology. So we'll watch out for that. And
what's interesting, just to add on that, right? One of the things that when at the Rising, Workday talked a lot about the AI capabilities. What's interesting is their focus is a lot more on the employee, managers, and business users, versus our focus when it comes to the AI is around the back-end office, the knowledge workers who are responsible for implementing, operating, and optimizing Workday on an ongoing basis, right? That's where we end up becoming a very good complementary opportunity in the ecosystem for the customers and for Workday as well.
Oh, okay. All right. That makes sense. More of a co-pilot approach from the employee's perspective. Okay, got you. So Pruthav, tell me if I'm looking as a Workday customer, I'm looking at, I have Workday Finance, I have Workday HR, Analytics. What areas do you currently cover, or like, are there any areas that you say you're very strong in, and these are the areas where you're developing or something like that?
Yeah, sure. So we are very strong in the core and HCM, and I'll speak to what a core means, right? A core for us is any business processes, the full business process suite of Workday, integrations, security, custom reports, and the whole things that are across the board for all the modules or functional areas of Workday. And then we are very strong in HCM because that's where we began the journey and we have built out a lot of capabilities around it. Over the last year, we have become very focused on the financial side as well, right? There's a lot of things around coming up on financial side, starting to focus a lot more on the supply chain area as well. And we are getting a lot of use cases where we are more and more delivering more and more value in those areas as well. But, and that's our focus on financials, and payroll is going to be a big focus for us as we go into 2024. Now, that being said, we already do a lot of things. It just, we want to build upon a lot more specific use cases for those areas.
Yeah, I mean, the number of SKUs keeps on expanding, right? Workday keeps on innovating. It's hard to catch up on the functionality and the innovation, which is a good thing. I think a lot more opportunity to look at different areas, how it can benefit. So a couple of last questions that I have is, the first one is, how is the implementation process? How long does it take? How do you typically get involved and work with different size of customers?
Yeah, absolutely. So we work with any size customer, right? We have a customer that is 2,000 employees to a customer that is 200,000 employees. The
Mhm.
size of the customer is not an issue for us in that sense. And the implementation generally is about 3 to 5 days of Simplrops,
Oh,
integrating
wow.
with, and
Okay.
primarily much of the work is on integrating the two platform, getting things set up within Simplrops and getting the team. And we are constantly working in reducing that even further, right? Being a coming from we are trying to reduce the implementation time of Workday. So our goal is to reduce ours to nothing almost from that perspective. And that's where we are going towards, right? To a less than a day to be able to get you the results and your insights into your environments on the same day itself. But yeah, that's the typical time frame of 3 to 5 days to implement
Not
right
bad.
now.
That's pretty good, I would
Yeah.
say. So, any case studies and examples you would like to share before we wrap up?
Absolutely. So one of our there are a couple of customers of ours that have been with us from the from the very beginning, right?
Mhm.
When we just started the journey about in 2019, um, through our partners, of course, and the use cases that always keeps coming back to them is around them trying to change their reorganize, do a reorg for themselves, right? And
Mhm.
understanding downstream chain impacts and uh, cross-module impacts for custom report impacts. So, and this is something that every customer goes through a lot from their side. So one of the use cases that always keeps becoming a very big talking point, especially when I talk to our customers and our prospects as well, is if you are going through a reorg, how long would you take to analyze how much configuration you have to change across your environment?
Mhm.
It's weeks worth of time sometimes,
Yep.
depending on how much you have evolved and built. With Simplrops, we can give it to you in less than a day. In fact, less than a minute. And that's the power of Simplrops, right? That's the use case that was delivered to this customer, one of the large, I think there were about 12,000 employees. And they were very excited with the results that came out of it. And that's what we are always delivering, right? Constantly delivering, taking you away from the journey to get to your results and more so making you outcome focused so that you are
That is,
not doing the work, not delivering
yep.
results.
Very awesome. That's great. So, Pruthav, thank you so much for taking the time out to be part of this Work Talk series. I know you're one of the early guests that I have on the show, so it's always good to talk to you, a dear friend, and what
And
you're
more in the
doing. I
future.
love that. Wish you luck in the future. And any last message before we wrap up to our viewers or the listeners?
Again, I'll just repeat: don't do the work, deliver results. Work with us, and we'll get you there.
Awesome. All
Thank
right. Thank you, Pruthav, for joining us today. I'm sure we'll talk
you
again
very much.
soon. Thank you.
Pleasure.